Hello everybody and welcome to Dev Gurus, your go-to place for anything programming or UI UX related. This is the second episode of our Python tutorial that's gonna teach you everything you need to know about Python. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe Dev Gurus. I need to talk about something that I forgot to cover in the last episode, which is the invalid variable names. As we said in the previous episode, you can sort variable names with letters and underscores. But what you cannot do is start your variable names with a number. If I said one variable, this is not a valid variable name. I also can't use reserved keywords like class. I can't use this as a variable name. I can't use the keyword like index. I can't use this as a and or any of these keywords. I can't use any of these keywords as variable names. And by the way, your variable name can be separated with a space. This is wrong. Even if I use non-reserved keywords, I didn't start with numbers. Like if I said my variable here, this is wrong. The compiler is expecting an assignment operator after it, but it finds this name that it doesn't understand. And now let's start covering the topics of this episode. And now we are going to talk about input and output, how to take an input from the user and show them an out. You already know how to output data to the user. You remember the print function? Whatever you pass to print function gets printed in the terminal. Like if I said name and ran this script, I'm going to get name dev gurus. And the reason I didn't put a in here is because the arguments that you pass to the print function get separated by a space, so this space is put to there automatic. I can add multiple arguments to this print function. We already added 2 arguments. We can add more than that. We can add the age and we can add the task. Don't forget to do your task. But how do we get data from the user? Getting data from the user is called taking input. And we do this through the input function. This function takes input from the user inside the terminal. If we run this script now, you can see this pause. This pause means that the terminal is waiting for an input. If I type dev gurus, you are gonna see hello dev gurus. And despite the fact that the return of the input function is always a string, the content of that string doesn't have to be just text. It can be a number, it can be anything that you can later convert to another data type. If we run this script now and type 25, for example, it's gonna print 25. But if we type 25 in text, it's gonna raise an error. And we are gonna learn how to handle these errors, or what's called in Python an exception, later in this tutorial. But what if we wanted to include the value of a variable inside of a string? Like what if we wanted to include the value of username inside of this string? Or instead of passing username like that, we wanted to include it directly inside of the string. This is called string formatting, and we can do this in 2 ways. Either precede the string with an F and then surround your variable with curly braces like username. And let's adjust the text. And if we run this right now, we can type dev gurus, and it's gonna include dev gurus in the second string. And we can type 25, and voila. And we can do this with any string anywhere. Like here in this example, if you surround this variable with curly braces, the value of the variable is going to be included inside of the string. And we can do this here. And we don't have to just do this with one variable. We can do this with multiple variables. Like if we typed Jack 32. Okay, I made a mistake here, and that I forgot to add the F before the string. If I type Jack here and 32 here, Jack is 32 years old. The other way is to use the format method. If we remove this F, added an empty curly brace here dot format username. This here is gonna do the same thing as the F before the string and the username between the curly braces. It's just a different way. So this way has its own advantage. The advantage of this way is that each argument you pass to the format method has an index. The first argument has an index of 0 and the second argument has an index of 1. And it's very, very important to keep in mind that indexing in any programming language and in computing in general starts from 0, not 1. I know that humans normally start counting from 1, but in programming languages we always start from 0, not 1, unless we are outputting human readable order or counting. That's the only case that we start from 1. Other than that, we always start from 0. So based on that, we can do this. 0 here means the first argument, which is the username, and 1 here means the second argument, which is the user age, and we can do this Zach and 17, and it's gonna print Zach into years old. But we can change the order however we like. We can do 1. If I run this, Tom 22, it included the age first string and then Tom second. This is really useful when you want to use the same variable multiple times. So now we use the same variable twice in the same string. We don't have to pass it again as an argument to the format method. We just pass it once and we use it as many times as we want. So if I did this, like Chris 32. Chris is 32 years old. At 32, the person is very mature. Now we use the same variable multiple times. While I was learning the programming languages I know right now, I was struggling with the fact that most tutorials just give you these individual concepts that are completely out of context. And when you try to build projects with these individual isolated contexts, they start getting overwhelming and you find out that you can't see the bigger picture yet. So throughout the rest of this tutorial, we are gonna try as much as we can to introduce examples that are gonna put the concepts we teach you into context and maybe introduce new concepts within the examples. This is gonna make the process more interactive, more intuitive, and more useful to you in the long run. And the first project we are gonna build together is a basic calculator. This is gonna incorporate the concepts of input and output, operators, variables in one example that's gonna show you how these elements work together to make the final product. In this basic example, we are gonna take only 2 numbers and add them together. And we can increase the number of numbers we take to make the calculator more and more advanced. If we do this now, we enter 4 and 5. We get 9. And we can change the operation. So we can say this is the addition. So now we perform every operation that Python has an operator for to these 2 numbers that the user passes. So if I do 12 and 2, so if we add 12 and 2, we get 14. If we subtract 2 from 12, we get 10. If you multiply them, it's 24. If we divide them, and notice that the division returned a floor, that's going to be 6. 12 divided 2 is equal to 6. And in the floor division returns the absolute value of the division. So if this is 6.1 or 6.2, the floor division is going to return just 6. This is why it's returning an integer, not a floor. The remainder of this division is 0, but if we wanted to make it have a remainder, the remainder of this calculation is 2. The exponentiation, when you power 12 by 5, you get this crazy number, 248,832. So these are all the operations that Python has an operation to, and we applied them in this calculator. Now what if we wanted to add a third number? We can ask the user for the third number, add the third number to each operation, but this is an efficient way to do it. A better way to do it is to store the result of the operation between the first two numbers and then perform the operation between that result and the third number, just like this. Now we stored the result of the operation between the first two numbers in a corresponding variable and printed it here. If we do any change to the value of these values, it's going to be reflected in the output of our calculator. So if I wanted to add the number, I would do something like this. I would add the value of the submission to the third number and then store it to the submission. Or we can actually do one better. We can do an assignment operator. An assignment operator tells the interpreter that we want to add the value of the number to the submission and then store the result of this operation in the submission variable. This is going to ensure that this change is reflected in the output of our function. We can apply this to each and every operation in here, just like this. Now we have an assignment operator for every operation that is natively supported in Python: the addition, the subtraction, multiplication, division, lower division, remainder, and exponentiation. And if we run this calculator now and just add like 14, 2, and 3, you get the addition. And if you add 14 and 2 and 3, it's gonna be 19. If you subtract them from each other, you're gonna get 9, which is right. And then you multiply them, you divide. When you run such scripts, you have to notice these little details. Like, this shows you how accurate is the division in Python. It shows you up until the 16th decimal position. So this is very, very accurate, and it's really very helpful if you are working on a high precision script or something. We can also compare between the values of these variables using the comparison operators, like the greater than, the less than, and the equal comparison operator. And notice that this is a double equal sign, not a single equal sign, because the single equal sign is the assignment operator. If you use single equal sign, it's going to assign the value of the second num to the first num. But the double equal sign is is a comparison operator that checks if the value of these two variables are equal. The exclamation mark in many programming languages means not. So if we add an exclamation mark before the equal sign, it's going to check if these two values are not equal. There is the greater than or equal. This checks if the first number is greater than or equal than the second number, and it only returns false if the second number is greater than the first number. The same with the less than or equal. It checks if the first number is less than or equal the second number. There's something that I need to point out here, that only these two operators can be used with non-numeric values, but the rest of these comparison operators have to be used with numeric values. But these can be used fine with non-numeric values, because let's assume that this is a boolean. If this is true and this is false, this is going to return false. If this is a string of some value, this is a string of another value, is going to return false. And the not equal is the same. It can be used with non-numeric values, while the rest of these comparison operators can't be used with non-numeric values. Notice that in these comparisons, we are only comparing between the first and the second number. We didn't include the third number, and the reason for that is
Comparison operators can only have a left-hand side and a right-hand side. You can't use the same comparison operator to compare multiple elements with the same comparison operator. And to do that, we use the logical operators. The logical operators combines two or more conditions. And at the end, comparison operator checks if these two conditions are true. If one of these two conditions isn't true, it's gonna return false. This gives it a slight advantage because this can do something called short comprehension. And short comprehension means that if this first condition is false, it doesn't need to check the second condition because either way it's gonna return false. The OR operator checks if one of these conditions is true. So the difference between the OR and the AND, that the AND only returns true if these two conditions are true, and the OR only returns false if both of these conditions are false. Okay? And we also have the NOT operator. The NOT operator is like the UNO reverse card. If this is true, it's gonna return false, and if it's false, it's gonna return true. So remember the NOT operator with the UNO reverse card.
If we run this script now and write like 14, 6, and 7, we get our comparison operator results and we got our logical operator results.
That's it for this episode. See you in the next one.